What's going on, my man?
How you doing?
Really good.
Good.
All right, start off. Tell me who you are, what you do, where you do it at.
So John Oliver, or Dr. John Oliver.
Gotta have the doctor in front of it.
I know, you gotta have that. Or just John Oliver, MD. So I have a clinic called Bioperformance, and it's an integrative wellness practice. And what I mean by that is we have traditional, medical modalities that we incorporate, as well as regenerative medicine, biologics, peptides, hormones, things that are, not as far, as mainstream.
Yeah.
And so we kind of integrate those all together and provide kind of a unique experience for our patients that isn't limited by one track of medicine or one idea.
So we're actually like friends, like
Yeah.
buddies. This is
Yep.
the first time we met. Some people I have on, it's the first time I've ever met them. But the reason why I was thinking about having you on, I was actually having a conversation, texting with this guy, and obviously I do supplements and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times hormones and things like that just got brought up in conversations.
Of course.
So this guy's interested in, stuff he can do and what he takes. And, I kind of had talked to him about like, you just need to go to a doctor. You need to get like some lab work done.
Right.
Like if you feel this way. He's 61. And I was like, you need to take care of that. And so he'd come back and he actually just went to his urologist.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking to his urologist about like getting prescribed some testosterone or whatever. And he asked me like what I thought and what I would do. And I was like, honestly, I don't really know a ton about it, but I know that in my eyes, if you go to a urologist, is like, if you have urological issues, that sounds like a good idea. Or maybe he's going to prescribe testosterone.
Right.
But there's this whole other world of anti-aging medicine or whatever that is kind of called that I think that they're not even going to talk to you about.
Right.
Which in your case, like you're not having urological issues. You just kind of want to feel better.
That's it. Feel better, be healthier, be the healthiest version of yourself. And that anti-aging longevity, that part of medicine is growing exponentially. And it's interesting because it's not just a focus of like, I want to look younger or, have better skin or whatever. It's not really just aesthetic reasons, but the whole anti-aging, aspect is creating a healthier being, a healthier person from the inside out. And that, in turn, you're decreasing your chances of disease and, other ailments and things like that by focusing on this anti-aging.
Well, so I'm, every time first one comes on, I try to read enough to like not sound completely retarded.
Right.
It's like my main goal.
Yeah.
And as I was looking through some of these studies and information, I didn't realize that mostly when people, if you from a clinical point of view, describe like HRT, hormone replacement therapy, most of it's like about women. It is kind of like big postmenopausal women and working with their hormones. So I went through that filter down a little bit and found that there's actually like an all-cause mortality decrease by women using hormone replacement therapy, which seems counterintuitive to mostly what we're told, which is like if you take testosterone, you're going to die of a heart attack earlier.
Right.
So where does the negative side of all of that come from?
Well, I think there's always been a focus more on women because they have dramatic hormone changes, like you said, around menopause. And some of those can be, detrimental to their health. And so that's always been a focus more from, okay, if we don't do something, then, something bad can happen within the body. For men, it's less dramatic. Yes, where testosterone decreases as we age, but it's less associated with these extreme, changes and extreme risk.
Okay.
However, we're starting to show that, it's not just about avoiding disease, but can we live better? Can we be healthier? Can we feel better? And if we do that safely, if we do that effectively in a way that, promotes overall health without having these major risk factors. And so there has definitely been a shift where, even TRT, testosterone replacement, used to be very kind of pushed back on. It was only used in extreme cases. And now it's extremely prevalent, even in younger men who are just starting to have decreases in their
Mid-30s.
Exactly,
like
30 to 40.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they're starting to utilize it there. And there's different, ways to look at that, and people feel differently about it. Even in the medical community, there's not a consensus that says, okay, this is the age that you should start.
Yeah. But also there couldn't be because everybody ages differently. Your hormones change at different times. That would be preposterous. Exactly. I always try to think about everything as like minimum effective dose and maximum effective dose.
Correct. Yeah.
That even for like working out, it's like how many sets do I have to do to keep the muscle,
Right.
and how many do I have to do to make it grow?
Right.
Because I can't do the maximum effective set on all my muscles.
Correct.
I would just be burnt out and I would fucking
Right.
be miserable.
Right.
So there's like, okay, these ones I can put over here.
Yep.
And these ones that I'm weak on, I can, fire away on. So then in the same way as if I look at, like testosterone, estrogen, then these other peptides that I can do, and you know what I mean, all these, it's like, how can I keep them all relatively low, like a minimum effective dose,
Right.
to get all of the benefits, maybe not max out the benefits, but get no side effects or virtually no side effects.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to dial in for everyone, and again, that is different, someone's body mass, for instance, can make a difference, their sex, their age, all of those things, even their blood type, can make a difference in how they respond to certain things. What's interesting is that we're always discovering, new peptides as well, and
there is a new name
every week. There's something
crazy.
new coming out, and they're coming out to the public, or we're being made aware of them, but they've been studied now for probably a few years by the time they're releasing information on it.
Definitely.
But they're all like interconnected, and so when you talk about these, signaling pathways, and so when the body's has an injury or a workout, for instance, and you want to repair that signaling cascade starts here. By the time you get to where that tissue is actually being repaired, I mean, there's thousands of things that have to happen.
Different steps and signals and hormones and everything.
Yeah. And so what's cool is that, one of the things we're trying to be sensitive of is like, we're aware of is that we don't want to desensitize receptors. And so if you just flood the body with the same peptide all the time, a lot of times we can get desensitization where the receptor kind of cools off and is not as effective. And so how can we
How long does it take normally to get to that?
It just depends on what pathway we're talking about. But in general, like growth hormone, for instance, the rule of thumb is typically like, 60 days to 90 days on a certain, hormone, and then either cycle off of it completely for, 2 months or 3 months, and then, you can go back on the same thing, or you can interchange it with a different type of growth hormone analog in place of, and that's where, if you have this pathway that's in a circle, this, signaling hormone was over here. Well, I'm going to replace it with something that's actually down here.
Yeah.
So I'm still continuing that circle. I'm still, accelerating. Or
it's just basically like one part of that circle is getting supercharged,
Correct.
of like, and so if you spot on and spot off between different ones,
Correct.
You're still getting an overall net benefit.
Correct.
And not burning one out to
Right.
where you're,
Right. Exactly.
not getting much out of it.
And it's not, I mean, I wouldn't say an exact science because, like I said, everyone responds differently, and we're still figuring out the best way to use these things together. And the other thing is too, we want to know how that person feels, how they respond to it, how their energy is, how their sleep is, what their goals are. If it was improved sleep or improved energy, was it improve cognitive function, was it improve recovery in the gym, was it to recover or heal an injury, and so all of those things matter too. And so we're trying to take more treat like case studies where they're getting individual protocols, and then we're following them really closely to see what works for them.
So you did my peptide stuff.
Yep.
And I do love all of them that I do, but calling one out, and so the NAD spray, right? My big thing is mental performance, cognitive enhancement.
Yeah.
That's the part that I'm always the most interested in, because that's the part where I feel like I get the most juice out of it.
For sure.
Right. What is it about the NAD spray that makes me feel like for some time afterwards that I'm like, I feel like I'm just more cognitively aware, but it's not stimulant.
Yeah.
So what is that?
The best way that we understand it is that NAD is something that shuttles electrons back and forth in the mitochondria of every cell in the body.
Okay.
I think we notice it more in the brain just because that's where we're consciously aware of everything. There have been studies that as we age, NAD decreases in our neurons and our brain cells. And so one of the theories are when we, reintroduce all this NAD, that it does have a high affinity for our brain tissue. But
I thought it was like my body was working better, so I felt better or something. But the NAD is actually being used in my neurons?
100%. In the actual cells, it's like kind of supercharging, powering those cells. And so their energy output increases, their efficiency increases, their ability to communicate with the cells next to them increases. And so you're I guess you're increasing communication, but you're also decreasing stress and anxiety off the brain because of that. If you think about it, when you're trying really hard to do something, and it's like maximal effort, but you're just not getting there.
Yeah.
It's stress and anxiety increases, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when something becomes easy and fluid and seamless, all of a sudden it's like kind of cools that down.
No, definitely.
It also has an effect on inflammation in general.
Okay.
And so is systemic inflammation lowers. That decreases workload and stress off the brain too.
Okay, so then in this whole game of HRT and peptides and maybe some of these other, I don't know what to call them, like ancillary treatments that go along with it. What is stuff that is overprescribed and what is stuff that is underprescribed?
Well, the one that comes up a lot is the GLP-1 agonist, which is semaglutide, tirzepatide, retatrutide is a newer version.
Do you guys do semaglutide, I would imagine? So
we do mostly tirzepatide and retatrutide, which is a newer version, considered like a Gen 3. We do have some patients on semaglutide, and that's mostly because they were on it before we adopted them. Yeah, and they were getting great results, and so we didn't want to upset the apple cart, and so we kind of
continue. But are you putting this in the overprescribed area or the underprescribed area?
Well, I would say prescribed would probably not be overprescribed because that means you have managed care. And that's one of the things that we want to emphasize, and I talk to a lot of patients about, is that with these kind of things, they do change the metabolic profile within the body, and they change the way you metabolize sugars and carbohydrates and how your cells are energized. And so there's this massive shift that happens. And a lot of people who are, I wouldn't say prescribed, but maybe selling these things don't really understand how that works. And so there can be detriment, there can be, negative effects that happen if it's not done properly. And so having a provider, a medical provider.
What does done properly mean? Correct dosage?
Correct dosage, correct timing. Are they also monitoring their blood work? Are they making sure that this is, doing things in a healthy manner? Because it'll change your glucose levels, it'll change your cholesterol levels. There's a lot of things that happen within the body that change. And so, and the other thing is too, like we do a lot of in-body scans. We look at body composition. That's one of the things you'll see a lot of is that these GLP-1s are causing muscle wasting and atrophy and things.
Well, that's just because they're eating less calories.
Well, they're eating less calories, but their metabolism's increasing as well. So their demand's going up. They're eating less, and if they're not on a proper,
but it's not like the thing is making them lose muscle. It is just an energy balance, right?
It is, but I mean, it is causing it because their demand's going up.
Okay.
But if you're not supporting it with a resistance training program, if you're not getting in the calories that you need and healthy proteins and things like that, then you absolutely will, lose some muscle. So those are one of the things we monitor really closely, especially in patients who we might feel are higher risk for that. Because we want to lose body fat, but not.
I always think about this as like anytime something comes out, and semaglutide is obviously like the big one, right? So there's the people that are like, it's terrible for you, it's going to kill you, I don't know, whatever. And it's like, so I immediately know they're dumb.
Yeah.
And then the other side is like people who are basically, I see this a lot now, they're kind of like personal trainers or nutritionists that then like get hooked up with a doctor and just get everybody on it. And it's like, well, they're dumb too because it's not a cure-all for everybody.
Correct.
Right? And if you talk to somebody who's an actual medical doctor like yourself, usually the answer is something like, yeah, it works. It can do some stuff. And it's like real answers are always kind of nuanced.
Right.
Like they're just like, yeah, maybe if it's the right person, really got to monitor it. Like the answer is, the right answer is always the not sexy.
It's more calculated. Right? Yeah. And I think that's really important to know because, and that's why I kind of preface this whole thing is that you have med spas and you have, I always joke around and say hair salons and things like that are selling this stuff out of their back door. But the truth is that, to have someone who doesn't really understand what's going on inside the body, and this is something you're injecting, into your body, and is causing a cascade of effects. And to not understand that, I think, is a little bit, it's probably not good practice for people to be selling it when they don't really understand it. And so I always encourage people to go to an actual healthcare provider who has studied the medicine, who's applied it, who really understands how it works. And that way, when you have questions or things come up, or you're not getting the desired effect, or maybe you're getting a side effect that you don't want, and how do you mitigate that? How do you change that? Is there something that we can, do to alter that? If you are losing muscle, how do we, stop that from happening?
Am I right? So my story at the beginning where I'm talking about the urologist, right? Mm-hmm. I feel the same way about like your general care practitioner, kind of somebody like that this isn't how I feel about when I would go see a doctor. Is every doctor I go see is trying to fix whatever isn't healthy, versus if I go see someone like you, it's like you're trying to preventatively keep me healthy in the future.
Yeah.
And that's why I've been so dissuaded by, like, I'm not an anti-doctor guy or something.
Sure.
I'm not one of those weirdos, because it's like sometimes you're just sick and you get cancer and you need to fucking see a doctor.
Correct. Yeah.
But a lot of times it's like, it feels as though our doctors are just trying to like wait for when something's wrong, and then do something about it, rather than like the preemptive care.
Yeah.
Is that?
No, you're 100% right. And I think that's a big pushback on what I call the westernized, idea of medicine, which is to treat symptoms, to wait till someone's sick. And that's a very retroactive way to think about medicine, to think about health.
Yeah.
And there's a major push, and not just in, doctors like myself, but in society in general. You have a lot of people who are being more proactive about their health. And that's why I went back to like the anti-aging longevity, is that the idea is that you don't start that when you're 75 or 80. You start that when you're
30.
20, or, 25, 30, whatever.
Yeah.
You start it young, and you kind of set these things in place. And so you're slowing the aging process. You're creating a healthier environment. You're decreasing majorly all these other risk factors that might influence your health later on in life. You're decreasing those things and giving your body the best opportunity to be healthy, to avoid disease, but also to just feel better, have more energy, and to do the things you enjoy. So I think that it's, you're absolutely right. And I always because I went through med school, I have a lot of doctor friends who are in traditional medicine, and we keep in contact. And I do know that it's not that they're bad doctors or bad people. It's just that they're in a system that is designed that way. And, when I was doing my family medicine rotations, for instance, in Atlanta, Georgia, the doctor I was with, she had to see 60 patients a day. And that's how she kept her practice afloat. And I'm like, that's 3-4 minutes a patient, and that's, plus you have to do notes and stuff at night. And
if you're not doing anything else.
And she would basically know their name and know one thing about them. They could have one complaint when they came in. If you had 2 complaints, so if you had your blood pressure and your glucose that was, screwed up, you had to make a second appointment for the glucose check. And so anyhow, the point being is that it's really hard to be, practicing good medicine and to really know your patients when your volume has to be.
Well, let's dive in. We're going to make this we'll make this a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. So first thing is, it's funny, running a supplement business. I know I have my online business, but I have retail stores. And so there's a lot of people that are kind of like the anti-medicine group that will come into supplement stores. And I get that. And we have those conversations. And they talk about I'll hear a lot about like how terrible doctors are.
Yeah. But
a lot of times I think it's not the doctor. It's just kind of like the system they're set up in. Yeah. And my analogy is, you can walk into my supplement store and there are, 10 different brands of BCAAs on the wall.
Yeah.
Those don't even really do anything. I mean, like, not in any effective measure.
Yeah.
But it's because like the system, like, people come in and buy branched chain amino acids. Yeah. They want them. Right. And so what am I going to do? Like, not give them people? I can educate people and be like, hey, out of all the dollars I would spend, I don't know if it would be on a BCAA. Right. I would probably just buy a protein powder.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not going against the system. It's like, this is what the consumer wants and is doing. Right. So doctors the same way, is like, they're coming in, they have patients who have insurance, they get fucking, what you say, like 3 minutes with them.
Right.
And it's like, it is what it is.
Right.
If you don't want to do that and you want a doctor who's going to take care of you more, you're going to pay out the arm and fucking leg for it. Yeah. Like, it is what it is. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, there are, I guess, a wide range of costs, when it comes associated to healthcare in general. There are more, I would say, affordable concierge doctors that have come online where instead of paying these high insurance premiums, they're kind of encouraging you to be on maybe a high deductible plan or a health savings account kind of plan, and then taking some of that money you're paying in a high premium and then pay a monthly fee or an annual fee to a doctor who does spend time with you, who does answer your questions, who you don't feel like you're just a number in the system.
I have a weird thing. So obviously I own businesses. Mm-hmm. I'm a capitalist. I'm in that whole thing. I don't know if I think healthcare is in the free market economy. I don't know if I'm sold on that concept.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, obviously there's people way smarter than me that know more about this. But that is a hard thing for me to, and here's my analogy why. It's like, I remember being in my top level like economics class and going through the inelasticity of demand. right? So we're learning these economic functions. And it's like, yeah, if a candy bar is $1, people buy it. If it's $2, people buy it. If it's $4, people buy it. If it's $8, people probably don't buy it, right? As the price goes up, we don't buy it. And that goes for every principle inside of free market economies, right? Like if you want a really nice, expensive car, fewer people are going to buy it.
Correct.
Well, with healthcare, like if you need a medicine, if it's $5 or $5,000, you have to have it or you die.
Right.
So it is not necessary. It is not really in the same box that like most things like buying a car or a house or whatever really fall into.
Yeah, because this consumer doesn't really have the choice a lot of times, right?
No.
You know, and sure, you can shop around for your doctor, you can shop around for medicines or whatever, but by and large,
day, like if you need
it's pretty much dictated.
Yeah, if you need a heart surgery, you're not going to get a $5 heart surgery.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's not going to happen.
No bargain heart surgeons down the road.
No. And so then there's something that clearly we're not doing right because we pay a ton into the healthcare system.
Right.
But then we also buy insurance and then we also still have to pay doctors.
Yeah.
Somewhere we fuck this up.
Yeah.
What did we fuck up?
Well, I mean, that's probably a really broad topic because you talk about, the insurance companies and you talk about the AMA and you talk about the healthcare system in general, hospital-based systems and big pharma, all of those kind of work, together and they just, kind of moving money around is really what it is.
Exactly what it seems like.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people who are frustrated by that system. I'd say a lot of people that we encounter. And so they're looking for something better. And ultimately, we can push back on that. And I do hope that the system changes. In the interim, we don't want to wait 10, 20 years for it to change. We're trying to do subtle things now where we can affect, an individual, one person at a time where they want better medicine, they want better healthcare, and we're trying to make it affordable. We don't want them to be gouged by it. But also get the care that they actually want and need.
But you work in the system. Most of your patients have to be non-insurance, right?
Correct. Yeah. In fact, we don't take any insurance for the peptide therapy, for our office visits and things like that. Now they can use insurance for their lab work if they need imaging, MRIs, X-rays. Those things can be submitted through their insurance. But anything that comes through our actual practice, we don't take insurance. And I always tell people that the two big things I always say if they push back on or they want to have a conversation, I would say, well, this came up maybe 45 minutes into our first consultation. And I said, when's the last time you sat down for 45 minutes with your doctor? And they always say never. So that's the first thing I say. And then the second thing I say is, the big reason why we don't take insurance is that I want to be able to provide medicine I know is best for my patients, not with the insurance company.
Not forced with the insurance company.
Insurance company tells me, hey, this is the medicine you need to practice.
You know what's funny? I thought that exact same thing because I remember, like I said, I did my peptides and hormones and stuff through you. And I had never really known like where the shit I was getting before was even like coming from.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it never really crossed my mind. But then after working with you, I was like, oh, this is like legitimate. This is what you use.
Right.
Like I know that this is quality. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I would rather, it's like almost anything, is that if you buy the cheapest one, which is what insurance is definitely going to fucking use.
Correct.
You're going to get the worst possible result. But you may pay 2 or 3 times more for a better product, but get 5 or 6 times better quality or result from it.
Correct.
And that's where I want to land.
Yeah, and to know where it's coming from and to know it's pharmaceutical grade. That's another whole topic that we encounter a lot with patients who are aware of peptides or maybe have been using peptides in some form previously before coming to us. But there's a lot of what they call gray market or black market, whatever.
It's just black market shit. Yeah.
Right. These research grade peptides, and I do think there's probably a lot of them that are safe and effective, but you just don't know.
I remember when I was in my early 20s, and I decided I wanted to take human growth hormone. Mm-hmm. Well, then after working with you, and I'm not taking human growth hormone now, but I'm taking ipamorelin.
Yeah, tesamorelin and ipamorelin.
And you gave me a little carrying case to put it in. You're like, hey, this needs to go in a refrigerator and stay in a cool place. So then I look back at when I took it in my 20s, I was like, oh, that wasn't anything because I just had it sitting in a hot, under the sunlight. Yeah. And I was taking nothing. It was probably degraded into fucking nothing because nobody was there to tell me what the fuck to do.
For sure. Yeah.
It's just simple, dumb things like that.
Yeah. Well, the internet's great for a lot of things. It's also can be, a rabbit hole, and there's a lot of information out there. Some of it's great. Some of it's probably a little misleading.
A little bit of it?
Yeah.
A lot of it.
A lot of it.
Most of it.
But it's good. I mean, in some ways, I'm glad because it's thought provoking, you know, and a lot of people come with a lot of great questions. They said, listen, I've listened to this podcast, or I heard this person say this, or whatever. And I don't claim to be an expert in all of that, but I stay, you know, very close, like keep my finger close to the pulse of what's going on in this area of medicine. So I try to, you know, help bring light and education to those things. But yeah, you can definitely go down, you know, a rabbit hole that might be misleading for you.
So male, female, right? Mm-hmm. They feel like they want to start something. They don't know where to go or what to do, but they hear about peptides and hormones. What would you tell them to go do? Where do they get information? What's the first step that they take?
I mean, there's a lot of other great doctors. But if they're here in the Valley, or, you know, we do have some patients in other states, but really I just set up a phone call or an in-person consult. I prefer to do an in-person. I do feel like that doctor-patient relationship is very personal. Mm-hmm. And so I really like to get to know my patients and vice versa and make sure that it's a good fit.
So find you or a doctor that will actually like sit down and talk.
Yeah. And spend time with them. I think it's important to know like how long they've been doing it and, you know, maybe where they're getting their education from and things like that. Because again, there's been this major push with the GLP-1 market, for instance. I mean, I don't know how many billions of dollars they're making now off of tirzepatide, Mounjaro, and Zepbound and Wegovy and all of those, but the market is insane. And there's a lot of providers out there that have kind of taken that opportunity to make some money off of it. But I still don't know that they maybe fully understand it. So I think just maybe, you know, kind of vetting your provider a little bit. And I think it's really good when patients do that they kind of interview their provider and make sure that they're a good fit, you know, to say, hey, what science are you using? How do you know this? How long have you used it?
But the first step is
are you getting?
Find a doctor that you trust.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
Then that doctor will tell you to go get tested and what to get tested for.
Yeah. I mean, every clinic's probably a little different, but that's what we do. You know, we come in and have a pretty extensive interview, and I want to know a lot about their health history, and also want to know what their individual goals are, what direction they want to go, because that really dictates what we do. Yeah. And then, we do extensive blood work. We do body scans. Kind of depends on what their needs are. We have a lot of patients who are, you know, temporary. They're maybe athletes and they're just trying to rehab an injury or maybe post-surgical care. And so we'll kind of build like these short-term protocols for them. Yeah. But yeah, if you're coming on board and you want to actually become a long-term patient, then we do a lot of, you know, deep dives in the beginning and really see what's going on. Beyond like standard blood work, we'll do like cellular nutrition assay, which basically looks at all of your micronutrients that are in your body.
Again? What's it called?
It's called cellular nutrition assay.
Okay.
And so it's a blood test that looks at, you know, all of your vitamins and minerals and levels within the body. And that way we know if you're getting adequate amounts of those things, if you're deficient, if you maybe have excessive amounts. And then if it comes back that way, now we can take this and overlap it with your other blood work. Yeah. And we overlap that with your signs and symptoms and maybe things you have going on. And now we start to put this, you know, really story together and figure out, okay, we've identified things, and maybe you have a deficiency here in this pathway, or maybe you're not absorbing this micronutrient very well, or maybe you're getting too much of it in your diet. And so we start to put those pieces together. We also look at food sensitivity to see if there's things that your body is sensitive to. And that's not always an allergic reaction, you know, but sometimes sensitivity just means
inflammation
correct.
Or
it could be causing increased inflammation. It could be lack of absorption. So there's a lot of different things that can happen from that. And what's nice is that, you know, I'm not a nutritionist. We have some nutritionists that we work with, they'll send people to, but they can take that information and it kind of builds a diet plan for them and say, hey, these are the things you really, for your body type and your blood type, these are the things you should be focusing on. Don't eat too much of this and, you know, avoid these things completely. And it's kind of nice because it gives you a guideline. You know, a lot of people like that.
Yeah, I think that most people don't even really think about that as like part of their general health. Do you know what I mean? What they should or shouldn't even be eating.
Yeah, because I mean, we've been told, well, we always talk about the food pyramid, and now we know that was a total scam. But but really, you know, I think that people just think, well, I eat generally pretty healthy. And again, I think there's a balance between, you know, eating things that are right for you, and then there can be that extreme where you don't live your life, you don't enjoy life as much.
Measuring out how many almonds you're eating.
Correct.
Just wild.
Yeah. And there's, you know, everyone has their own version of what's right for them and maybe extreme.
No, totally.
So, yeah.
Okay. So find a doctor.
Yep.
Do extensive body analysis, blood work tests, things like that. Know what you can actually work with.
Yep.
And then figure out your goals and what you want to do over the next, I guess, a lifelong, right?
That's the big question that people always ask. Like, is this something I have to do forever? And I said, of course not. I said, you don't have to start from day one, though. You know, you don't have to do any of this stuff. But I do believe that it is a tool that we can use to improve your health.
I hate when people ask that.
Yeah.
Because obviously, in the same thing, in the supplement world, I'm like, am I going to have to take this forever? And this is my line every time. Is like, do you ever one day go, do I have to wipe my ass forever? Like, yeah, what do you mean? What does that, why?
Right? Yeah.
It boggles my mind, people being like, do I have to do this forever?
Yeah.
Yes, you have to work out forever. Yes, you have to eat forever. Yes, you have to sleep forever.
Yeah.
What do you think you're getting away from? As you get older, entropy happens. Your body will fall apart.
Right.
So you're going to have to put in more in every year to just maintain, to just stay even. The same amount of muscle mass, body fat, whatever, you're going to need to do more work, have more input because your body's naturally falling apart.
Right.
Like, I don't understand why that is such a hard concept. Yeah, at 20, you didn't have to do much.
Right.
You're 20. All right, guys, that was the Rituals Podcast. If you got anything out of it, like, follow, comment, give it to a buddy, give it to your mom. I don't know. Give it to everybody. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next time.